It's the Center Fantasy Football League podcast.
Welcome to football.
Oh, I'm a football player.
Coach, I'd like to tackle him right now. Not yet.
Reviewing all of the league's scores and highlights.
These boys may have lost, but they in no way disgraced themselves. They disgraced me.
I think I made him shit himself.
And previewing the upcoming matchups and scenarios.
Red 7.
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route.
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Fuck you. Fuck you, little walk-on fuck.
Do you think it's possible that your mom won't love you anymore if she sees how bad you're losing in the game? That's why your guys are out partying, mine are running routes.
And now, here's your host,
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
David Harback.
Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for Week 4 of Season 12. I'm your host, David Harback, and joined by the finally successful this season coach of the Hackettstown Hagglers, Mr. Gazelutsky.
What's up?
So the other half of the Hackettstown tandem has taken off because he's doing his tennis podcast or something. I mean, whatever the excuse is, because he lost and he's playing me this week, I'm sure. He will not be here. The esteemed commissioner has other priorities. So it'll be just the two of us. But there's plenty to go over, and thankfully you won, so we won't have emo geese.
Well, that's the fantasy gods frown upon doing a tennis podcast versus a football podcast, because that's what he's doing right now. He's doing a tennis podcast instead of the fantasy football podcast. Can't sit well with the gods.
I can't imagine that it would, but he makes his own choices. All right, well, let's take a look at last week's games. So where shall we begin? We can begin with your game, or we could go over the finest. I don't know. Up to you.
Let's go for the finest, because that was
it was not his finest performance.
Not his finest performance at all.
No. As he falls to the currently named South Florida Primetime. Last week they were Hawk Tua. The week before that they were SF Primetime. At least he's now made Southern Florida, so it makes more sense for the Primetime. We'll see what his team is named next week. So the original projection in this game was 107.23 to 118, but the actual result was 101.48 to 82. So looking at this, both quarterbacks did pretty terribly. Carr came back down to earth. CJ Stroud did not do well at all, only getting 11.8 80 points. Marvin Harrison still performed, getting 17.4, but zero, a big goose egg for Shaheed. I don't know what happened there. And then Mumra and Jamar Chase. I knew that Jamar Chase was going to have a big game. I said it to him. If he's going to, and I'm surprised there haven't been, trades that have happened with him. Although I know some insider information about why he doesn't really want to get rid of him, and it's ridiculous, but we can go over that in a second. But anyway, he gets a 29.8 point in this game in 20 for Mumra. Only 8.8 for A-Chain, 5.8 for Jacobs, whereas Cook got 18.7, 13.6 for Najee Harris. The tight ends continue to do nothing. Saubert, I don't even know who that is, with a 6.1, and then 5.6 for Laporta. The kicker, so Fairbairn, who had ridiculous, I think essentially Hockey won his first 2 weeks on the back of Fairbairn. This time he comes up with a goose egg, and then 4.6 for Moody, who basically won the game for the finest in week 1. But the defense did show up. He did outspend me a week ago for the Green Bay defense. He got him and he played him, and it was worth it. We both saw what was going to happen, and 21 points was worth it. -1 for the Cincinnati defense. So yeah, your thoughts on this game?
What do we say about teams where the highest scoring player is the defense? We've said this over and over again on the podcast. That's a team that could be in trouble going down the stretch if your highest scoring player is your defense.
Who had that? Was the Lightning Rods that year that had Chicago that was like just their best player?
Their best players of defense, yeah.
Yeah, and the kicker being your best player too. That's also could be a problem.
I mean, there's not really much of a bench blunder for Manny Friedman. This team just fell flat this week. 82 points. Right?
Yeah,
He was the biggest question mark. I guess you can't play the Cowboys every week.
I guess although Ferguson got 15.50 on his bench after the whole big uproar about that whole thing, and he gets rid of Godert, who we'll talk about that in a bit. I know. But yeah, I mean he's just making tight end blunders all over the place. He picked up Goff. I think he's dropped him. Whatever. I mean, he only got 8. I mean, Goff has been terrible this year. Madison with 13.4. That was a good score. But yeah, O'Dunsey or whatever his name is has got 23.40 for a bench blunder on hockey side, and then Sam Darnold with 31.24 points. But ultimately didn't matter because he ended up winning by a lot. I should bring up the reason why he wants Jamar Chase, but anything else in this game before I get into that?
No, why don't we go right into that?
All right, so it's ridiculous. But I said, this was going to be the game that he was going to play well because he was playing the Commanders and they're terrible. And, there was every bit of indication that this would be the good game. And he's got a tougher schedule coming up, and he's got a Q by his name, by the way. But he took out a $50 million insurance policy on himself so if he were to get injured this year and not be able to get the full amount of his contract next year, he has a $50 million policy out on that so that he could cover any losses that he would get if he played really hard, because it looked like he's not going to, negotiate with Cincinnati during the season. And hockey thinks it's brilliant which it is. It's very smart to, have such an insurance policy, but hockey thinks it's brilliant. And so he's like, I don't want to get rid of people that are that smart and business savvy on my team. So, and especially, and you talk insurance. I mean, he does a lot of things, but one of the areas that he dabbles into, not to the extent that some of the other players in this league do, but is selling insurance. So, although I think Weathers is an adjuster, I don't know what he does. Whatever. I barely know what anybody does, but yeah. You guys are pharmacists. I know the pharmacy connection. A quarter of the league is pharmacists. The rest, who knows?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So now he kind of wants him.
This could be a hot market for him right now. You said to sell high.
Now is when he should. But I don't know if he wants to anymore. So, I guess whatever. We'll see. But anything else on this game before we move on?
No, I mean, Manny's got a bunch of cues over there, so I wonder how he's going to respond to that. One of them's on Monday night with Laporta. I mean, what do? You just sit him?
He's got Ferguson. He's got Turd Ferguson to put in there.
Oh, Turd Ferguson. There you go. Yeah, I guess.
Well, we can get into that in the second half.
All right.
Some of us have ridiculous flights that we have to catch in the morning that we're flying into a hurricane for. So let's move this puppy along. All right. Where do we go next?
Let's go to our rival game against Gronky Kong.
All right. So the Hagglers in this game win 125.78 to 97.98. The original projection was 115.79 to 103.93. Once again, we have an upset. I don't know who picked this as an upset of the week, but is that 2 in a row that we've had so far?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, take it away. This is your game.
Well, we can fast forward to the fourth quarter of the Ravens game where Dak Prescott actually decided, I guess somebody put a freeze on his transactions on his phone from Wells Fargo. That $230 million guaranteed, so he had to play some football and show a little bit of effort to get all that money to get the transactions released. So he came up big with 33 points. And I mean, that game our score was going nowhere. Me and Gronky Kong were tied at 47 points for like the entire afternoon. Both of us were going literally nowhere. I don't know what happened with Andrews. I mean, he's just completely phased out of the Baltimore offense. I mean, he had 1 target for 0. I mean, I didn't even see him on the field.
Yeah, he doesn't even have 1 target for 0 reception.
And then Tampa Bay obviously had a rough week against Denver, but I mean, Williams. I mean, you get a couple of people with zeros and ones. That's going to be a rough week. So, but he still finished up with 97 on the back of. I don't know if you called. Did you call that McLaurin was going to have a big game?
Yeah, I did. No, wait, did I? No. McLaurin against Cincinnati? I don't know if I did on that one. Somebody did. I think maybe it was Manny. I don't know. I don't pay attention to what I say on this program.
Well, hey, one of the surprise spots for the Hagglers has been the Zach Moss guy. He's been pretty solid at running back. I don't know if Cincinnati even bothers to run the ball, but whenever they do, they usually give it to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Diggs was all right. That was a horrid Minnesota game. I mean, I have some concerns about Houston's offense. And
as somebody who had the Minnesota defense, I very much enjoyed watching that game.
Yeah, we did. And then I don't know what's going on. Does anybody want Tyreek Hill? I mean,
you still blame this podcast for the reason why you didn't get rid of him right before the Tua injury. Not that anybody had any foresight into that, but apparently you are still angry that we talked you out of it.
I mean, if I have an instinct, I'm just going to go with it because I'm not going to listen to you two knuckleheads.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Manny had an instinct to get rid of Godert, and look how that went.
Well, I mean, what can you? I mean, Whalers traded for him, or he just snatched him up out of the dumpster?
No, he traded for me. Jalen Warren or something, Jaden Warren or whatever. He traded one up.
People are actually talking about Mahomes this season like he's just throwing it short. Like you're the beneficiary of Rashee Rice, but there's really no vertical game for the Chiefs right now. Travis Kelce, he's just the forgotten.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's been atrocious.
So let's see. How did Gronky Kong's steal do for $55? Let's look at the bench. Ooh, 8.4 points for $55. That was certainly a steal.
Yeah.
I mean, 72 rush
yards. -2 for the Dallas defense. Wow. I mean, there's just
oh yeah. He's got a lot of people on the team that are
a total of 15.5 points on his bench there. Wow.
He's got a bench. I mean, Bigsby. I mean, that Jaguars.
How does he added and dropped this guy? All I see every few minutes, I get a notification that Tank Bigsby has either been picked up or dropped by this guy.
Oh, Bigsby! That whole offense on Jaguars right now is putrid.
Yeah,
they got blown out by Buffalo 47. There was not much going on there at all. Yeah. T. Higgins.
So for you, well, go ahead.
I mean, Higgins. He had I don't know, I guess an okay game for him, but in that Cincinnati game, you got Chase, you got that guy Lovatas, right? And then you got, I mean, Higgins is almost like the third string guy now.
Yeah, Lovatas is another one that keeps getting picked up and dropped all the time. What happened to Adam Thielen here? Because he had 13 points.
He caught a touchdown bomb from Andy Dalton and then grabbed his leg and
he's only 4 weeks. That's a shame because looks like it might be a little bit better now that the Red Rocket is back on them. Do you even have IR spots?
Yeah, that'll probably. No, my IR spots are jammed up right now with losers.
Well, I mean, you could take. I mean, so you could certainly take Ingram out and then put him back down to whatever. I mean, because I'm sure you're gonna have to do that at some point. You have to manage. Is Yahoo letting you get away with it for now? Usually,
it doesn't. Back to questionable, so I had to drop somebody and put him in the lineup.
Okay.
Yeah, put Thielen on IR, so I just swapped the two around.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, good beating a rival, but I think I have to play Gronky Kong. You play the first three people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's not over.
He will be your final game of the season.
Yeah, there will be a rematch.
Yeah. Whoever anybody played this week will be there. Will be repeated at the end of the season. Will be the final game of the season. So.
Okay, so you and Manny will meet one more time.
No, because it's week 4. I will meet the Whalers again.
Oh my goodness! No, you better not say anything. Mr.
What? I haven't said anything.
You haven't said anything. You just made a picture of it.
I did nothing. I look
a hat with an ass on it.
I might have said that. I think the better one was the Hamburglar one. I think that one was way. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, have we talked about his game? Let's get into his game. Who was he playing? He wasn't. He was playing me. What am I saying? Let's get into my game then.
Yeah, who he was playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot. All right. So this one, the underdog did not I'll pull it off. The original projection was 119.16 to 116.41. And the 1603ers ended up winning 127.12 to 94.18. We actually, so in the early part of the day, we didn't have that many players. So we had Brees Hall going on Thursday night. He basically hit his target essentially. So it wasn't like a Thursday night like one of those, Thursday night curses. It was one of those interesting things where he just met the projection. I was like, I think that's a good spot to be on the Thursday night thing because when you have a player that goes off on Thursday, that's when you really have some problems. But to just hit your mark, I think that's what you kind of want to aim for now. So everything was fine there, and then and then the early game that we had, or the early the early games, the only ones that we had playing were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we had three of them in this game. We had the kicker with 1 point. We had Godwin, who at least got 17.3, especially, with a touchdown, and then Baker, who only got 10.52. I mean, it was looking pretty bad for me for most of the day until they got twofers on that touchdown, and then things started to look okay. But then as the day went along, I mean, because Whalers, so first of all, Richardson wasn't doing anything. Well, I don't think Zay Flowers had started yet. Olave was doing nothing, and Godert really wasn't doing much either, and Ford wasn't really doing much. The Giants were playing surprisingly well in that game. And then suddenly, like in the fourth quarter, late in the game, suddenly Olave gets a touchdown, and Godert was it was in that same game because that game, I think at halftime or well into the latter stages of the game, it was like three. I don't remember. It was a very low scoring game. It might have been 3-0. I wasn't paying that much attention, but it was a very low scoring game. And then I think Saquon finally rushed for a touchdown, and it kind of broke things open. And then there was some scoring that happened. But yeah, then it started to look really bad, and I was really angry at that trade, that the Goddard trade. I was livid. It was just like, ugh, the impulsivity of Hacketown once again coming back to bite the rest of the league. But thankfully, things mellowed out towards the rest of the day. So as bad as Baker was, Richardson was even worse. Flowers did terribly. Mason Jar was not that great. I mean, Bijan wasn't that great either, but Connor only got 3.5. Ford ended up with 10. And yeah, and the Minnesota defense, who actually we were just talking about, they played really well. So, and Cleveland, who was actually supposed to or projected to be the highest scoring team of the week, only ended up with 5 points. So, everything broke our way well. And then, and that was even before we got into the Sunday evening game, which was Rashee Rice getting 29.1, and then Shakir on Monday night getting 19.2, which was just gravy because this game was over by that point. Yes, and the Whalers goes to 0-3, and then he continues to get more news about McCaffrey, which, I feared him going into I was going to settle for him at like in the 70s. There were two things that I feared. One is that they did mention the camp. I mean, obviously they didn't say the extent of the injury or anything else like that, but there was some, they did mention that there were calf issues. And I remember having McCaffrey the year that he was injured a few years ago. I mean, as great as he's been the last 2 years, I think it is. The year that he was injured, it was torture to have him. And I really didn't want to have to go through that again. But I was willing to go through it in the 70s. He ended up bidding $80, and I was like, all right, I'm done. And I knew that he didn't even want him. And here's the other thing. And then here's the one lesson. I mean, I guess he says he wants. I don't know, whatever. My sense, at least over the as much as one can sense when you're in the draft room, was he doesn't even want him. And he did this a couple years ago to try to nickel and dime him up a few dollars. So my feeling was like, all right, you didn't learn your lesson from then. I learned this lesson the hard way when I had Le'Veon Bell. If anybody recalls that incident,
That was a mistake.
well, but it wasn't. But what happened? in that situation, it was Lombardi's auto draft team, and we were bidding him up because the auto draft kept bidding for players, and it was just really annoying. So I was like, let's stick him with this guy, and I bid him up to just the level below what like the projected amount was supposed to be, so that he would get stuck with him at a high price. Because and then I did it, and then the thing just let me have him, and I was stuck with this dead weight for the entire season. And the lesson I learned from that is never bid on a player simply to screw over another player. Never, always make sure that you are comfortable. Any bid that you make, be comfortable with the idea that you could end up with this player at that point. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't feel that way. I'm sure, all of the talk coming out of the draft, he was quite happy with the pick. In fact, he'd said that, it was the steal of the draft. But I still don't think that that's necessarily who he wanted. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that is my sense of it. So I just, my sense over the internet was like, all right, you didn't learn your lesson that time, from a couple years ago when he took him. And then I think we ended up trading him each other. It was like Kittle and him, I don't know, mid-season. But yeah, so there's some relishment of this. I will also say I find it very interesting. Um, the level of upset, let's just put it this way. The level of upsetness that he feels whenever he loses to me, it's fascinating to me. So he lost to me in base, and I'm not saying it's even necessarily connected. I'm not saying it's conscious. I'm just saying it's just very interesting. He lost to me in the baseball series, and then he walked away from Center Sports for a year, other than fantasy football. Came back, played a little, then lost to me in Madden last year, and then that was it. He was done with it. And then, he loses this game, and the next thing, he's asking Manny, "Can I have a refund for the season?" And I think I think it was a joke. I take it in stride with that, but I mean, come on now. Is it really that bad to lose to me? What? Why? I don't understand. Am I, and it could just be coincidences. Maybe he's fine with it.
I mean, he does have some. I mean, Amari Cooper seems to be the main man in Cleveland, so that 27 obviously could have helped out. But as far as being competitive down the road, do you see him? I mean, he'll have Hawkinson back, so he could probably run with the jumbo package if he wants. So, I mean, Hawkinson's going to be a major part of that Minnesota offense. I mean, he's probably slated to return in a game or two. The question mark about McCaffrey, I don't know what's with that, but
I mean, but Mason is a decent enough replacement.
Yeah.
I mean,
he'll get his point. I mean, he'll get double digits, I think, every single week.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I look, I love the memes. I think it's hilarious, everything that's going on. Especially with the Madden curse, that aspect of it. I don't know if I mentioned that in the draft, but anyway, no, all of this is really funny. But let's not kid ourselves. Whalers has had slow starts before. The man, he's Rasputin. He is never out. I have seen him even in fantasy have really terrible starts, and then and then you forget about him, and then then suddenly towards the end of the season, you're like, how did this guy get back? I mean, he is a fighter. So I don't care what his team is saying right now. First of all, there's plenty of opportunities for things. I think, maybe he gets off the Richardson train. At this point, there's plenty of, quarterbacks that are filling in. At this point, he could plug that hole. Zay Flower, I mean, look, he's got some. I mean, if you could put a Cooper in, like you said, you could run the jumbo package. James Conner just had an off day. Mason still will play well. So I think it's a mistake, first of all, to just look at the actual lineup. Because he can transform that quite quickly. I mean, you look at the Goddard thing. I mean, he did, and that was a steal as well. And in addition to that, I mean, I never can. He is never, no matter what it is, no matter what the competition is, he is never out until he's out. So I do not think, um, you know, I just don't. He's not. He's not some other people in the league that tune out when it, like, and look, I think that he's having. I think is look, I'm having fun with it. I'm having fun with the memes. I think that he is too, although I think that he certainly would like to be on the other end of the memes where he's good. But I think it's enjoyable. Um, especially the only interesting thing is I will say that this is the first time because he's been championed so many times in so many things. This is I think he waited so long for this championship that this was the first time that he really liked this champ. He likes being champ. There's something about it in this. Like the other ones, it was just kind of like it was like the Yankees. You just expected, but this one, I feel like he really relished it, and maybe this first couple of weeks, as far as his focus on getting the best players may have just he may have been in a honeymoon period, but don't count him out. But anyway,
Yeah, before he was very raccoon-like. I mean, he just grabbed up everything,
I know.
dashed it away, processed, see what they would do. But he's let a lot of things go by the wayside. Now that they're really doing it. I mean, the Goddard trade was probably his finest move up to date, and there will be more moves. You're right. You just can't. He's Rasputin. You just can't get rid of him.
And that's the thing, like the Goddard thing, like that comes out of nowhere, and then he ends up getting like this really good tight end, and you don't even think about, it's just like this thing that happens under the radar, this like little point, and soon he does enough of those, and then you're like, oh my God, how did he get this really good team? And so, yeah, but
Goddard was doing jack shit up to that point.
Mm-hmm. And look, he might in the future, but still, I'm just saying, never, don't count this guy out. Don't do it. You do it at your own peril. It is a huge mistake to do that.
Mm-hmm. And flipping to the other side, I think you have a very solid roster. This Shakir guy in Buffalo was a very savvy pickup on your part. What made you even look at this guy?
He was the only receiver left in Buffalo, and yeah, I'm glad that he's panning out like I thought he would. So he's really good. Ironically, the one that I didn't really target that I ended up with was Rashee Rice. I was glad that he was I had him last year for that brief period of time and then dropped him, and then Gronky Kong picked him up and I could just never get him back. But this year, when he was available, I was like, at a reasonable rate. I don't remember exactly. We could probably
Him, you got $8.
what? How much?
$8.
$8 exactly. I was like, how could I not go pick him up for like I thought he was well worth that. Where do you even see that?
If you go into the tab and you go to history.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's right. They do say it in the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, $8. Wow. Yeah. So I mean, I thought that like I wasn't even necessarily looking at that point for I needed some wide receivers. But yeah, for $8, I was like, absolutely, I wanted him. So yeah, and he's certainly panned out. I mean, like my focus was certainly on the running backs, but yeah, I'm concerned about this Trey McBride injury. He finally performed last week, and then this week he gets injured. So that I mean, but these are the kinds of holes that you have to plug up. So all right, let's move on. So we have two options to talk about. We could either talk about the lightning rods and Zamunda, or Nick and Jamie versus clever name pending, because we have to save the other game for last. So where would you like to go with this?
Let's go to our rival coming up this week, the lightning rods.
All right. So this one, first of all, this was the blowout of the week. Poor Nicky.
And it lived up to billing.
Yes. So the original projection was 115.06. to 107.82. The final result was 131.36 to 75.38. Oh my God. I mean, the Zamunda Lions are just, this is the team that.
Research about Nick. I think he started 0-3 every year, like the past 4 years.
Really? I mean, he won the championship like 4 years ago.
So since then, I think he started 0-3 every time.
Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, and the thing is here, I mean, we could talk, we'll go through the whole thing, but I mean, he had the instinct to pick up Juwan Jennings and left him on the bench. Oh my God.
I don't even know if you want to look at that bench blunder. That's
That's
right up there with. I mean, didn't somebody for hockey get 46 points in like one, and then he played him and he didn't do shit after that?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
I mean, there was a Chief guy.
Yeah, I vaguely remember what you're talking about, but yeah, no, I mean, that's the story of this. By the way, that one player scored almost more than half of what his bench scored. I mean, what his entire team scored. But anyway, so we can get into this game. So it was essentially cruise control for the Lightning Rod. So 31.36 for Burrow.
And that's with Lightning Rod's getting a big fat 0 from his kicker.
Exactly. And only 9, So, all right. Jefferson gets 20.1, 18.7 for London. Aaron Jones with 25.8, and then 10.7 for Robinson over in Washington. So good top half of the lineup there. Likely after the first week where everybody thought, oh my God,
you should have sold high.
Yeah, exactly. Because 1.4. Garrett Wilson gets 14.3, which is decent. And then, 0 for the kicker and 9 for the defense. For Nick, Kyler Murray gets 16.78. And then Williams gets 31.6. But other than that, my God, what a dumpster fire. So 8.7 for Lamb, 4.2 for Robinson, 11.5 for Dobbins, 2.9 for Henry, 2.8 for Dobbs, 1 for Carlson, and -1 for his home Raiders. My gosh. And then, and then here's the thing. So he ends up, so what is the difference in this score? It is 31, and then, so I mean, it wouldn't have made the difference. I mean, did he have enough? No, he didn't have enough on his bench to win. He just literally did not have enough to win this game. But I mean, at least the Jennings thing would have made it more respectable with 46 points added to that.
I'm a little bit surprised how Justin Jefferson is literally the only guy in Minnesota. How is he getting so wide open on every single play? It's almost embarrassing. They literally don't have anybody. Hawkinson is on IR, right? Yeah. Other guy, Addison's injured. There's nobody else to throw to, and he's wide open on every play. How bad are these defense? I mean, they played San Francisco. 4 for a buck. That's when he had that huge bomb from the end zone. Nobody can cover this guy. I thought he would struggle this season. Apparently not.
Mm-hmm.
He's the new Travis Kelce. Nobody can cover him. They literally don't have anybody else. Nobody else on this team but Justin Jefferson, and he's getting monster numbers every single week. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He scored a touchdown every single week. This guy is out of control.
Yeah.
And I have to play Lightning Rods this upcoming. Great. It's going to be great. I mean, Burrow, like, you knew he was going to carve up Washington because they suck.
Yeah. So
London, I'm surprised at how a bigger role London has in Atlanta. He's finally coming on. Like, he's their guy, Drake London.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Lightning Rods, by the way, he has a strong bench too. So Eckler gets 13.7. 14 from Moneyman. Number 40, Conklin over on the Jets, which is a Madden reference. And then the fine Charbonnet with 25.7 points. I mean, he's got a deep bench too. I mean, he's certainly not a bad team in this league right now.
No, that's at 2-1. He's poised to make a move this week. I'm very concerned about this rival.
3-1, and now. Oh no, sorry, he's 2-1. I'm sorry.
Well, he's gonna be 3-1 if kind of number.
All right, and then and then just I just
looking on the Knicks side. I mean, they're first of all, let's be realistic. Jennings, that's going to be the high of his career. 46.5. I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers. That's Justin Jefferson numbers that he's putting up there. He's not going to be doing that again back-to-back weeks. Lawrence is horrid on the. I mean, the whole Jaguars team is putrid. I mean, just looking up and down Nick's roster right now,
I mean,
I don't,
CeeDee Lamb had a disappointing game.
where do you get the points from? I don't know. CeeDee Lamb, I mean, Dallas is struggling.
I mean, J.K. Dobbins is you can get some points from there. Lamb could have a better week. Murray is serviceable, but you need some other. I don't know. I mean, I guess you put in Jennings now to see what he's going to do. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, do you really want to live and die off of Juwan Jennings?
I mean,
There's not even anything to raid over here at Zmart. I mean, he's got Williams. That's it.
I know. I mean, he's not even stocking the shelves. Like, I mean, I think look,
like that could be a consistent number for him going forward.
I mean, it's almost like after the sales at Zmart. This is usually what his team looks like after he's had his sales. But he doesn't even made a trade at this point, and this is what he looks like.
This the tight end situation. First of all, tight ends across the league are definitely struggling.
Oh yeah.
But this 2.9 for Hunter Henry with a Q, he's got to.
Yeah, which maybe he will. I mean, look, I think there was a lot of like the scoring this week in general was pretty low. But yeah, it's yeah, this is not looking good. I mean, although I will say Nick continues to always be a team that spots people like Juwan Jennings. I guess he just he didn't play him, but he sees the people in advance, like whatever he's reading, the latte picks or whatever. He knows players, and he does a good job at scouting them and getting them. It's just I don't know what's going on this year.
Well, he plays Clever Name this upcoming, so somebody's got to be.
Yeah, well, that's a good transition into the next game. Now, this game actually, so I will say, it looked like Clever Name Pending might have almost had this win. It was very close throughout. So first of all, the projection was 113 to 110.78. Nick and Jamie was favored, but I have to say, I was shocked that Nick and Jamie pulled this out. It was on the back of Jaden Daniels on Monday night with 32.06 points. You take that away, I mean, so I feel bad for him. I mean, because okay. Jaden Daniels gets 32.6 points. Hurts got 10.94, 9.8 from Ayuk, 11.2 from the other Dell or whatever. He got 30 from Henry, 26 from Taylor. So his running backs killed it this week. 7.3 from Freiermuth, 7.4 from McConkey, 2 from Tucker, and 13 from the defense. You go on the other side, 10.9 from Reed, 10 from Pickens. Barkley did open things up. A lot of that was on, that touchdown play. But so 33.6 points for him. So he matches Henry to a degree. And then Gibbs gets 10 point less than Taylor does. The tight ends are about even. He's lower at the flex, 11 points from Bass, and then 2 from the defense. So he got outplayed on the defense. But Daniels just, I mean, this guy, he did it for him. I mean, 2 passing TDs, 1 rushing TD, 754 yards, passing yards. I mean, I didn't even watch the game, but what this is all him, and I think we made fun of him for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you guys. Well, you and Manny were laughing at Daniels starting him. He's got something going on there in Washington. He's got McLaurin to throw the deep ball to. I mean, this guy. I mean, this. You and I have never really. We were always a step behind on where the league's going youth wise. The Marvin Harrison Juniors, the Jahmyr Gibbs, the Daniels in this case. We just don't see it.
Well, because we don't like college football.
True.
I mean, I think. I forgot who I was talking. I mean, maybe it was Eugene. It was somebody that was telling me just about how I saw him in college. I remember. I was talking to Eugene. Oh, he should be extra happy. He gets a little extra mention in this segment. But anyway, he's talking about how, Brock Bowers, and when he picked him up or whatever, he's like, I saw him at, Georgia, whatever, State or Tech or whatever. GQ.
As you call it, Jabroni State.
Jabroni State. He saw him at Jabroni State. He was amazing at Jabroni State. He was like, I knew he was going to be great. So he goes and picks. I mean, I don't watch any of these. So it It gives you the advantage that, like, oh, because here's the thing. It used to be in the NFL that you and I grew up in. It didn't matter if you're a rookie. You didn't get playing time, and you would be eased into the lineup. You would get playing time a couple years into your tenure. Now they're just coming right out of college, and they're starting right away, and making an impact, at least in fantasy. And so for people like us who just don't like college football, it's very difficult. Um, I mean, we could rely on the trades and people who are talking about, the people and whatever, but we're not going to see those players. So, yeah, I think that's part of the blind spot that we have.
I mean, this is somebody. I guess you hold on to this Chase Daniels because the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I guess. I don't
Or Jaden Daniels. I mean, I don't know shit about this guy. All I know is I was watching the game. He was doing all right. Doing all right. But I mean, he definitely propelled Nick and Jamie to a win. He pulled the Prescott. I mean, they were.
sign him for $3. There you go. Oh, there's where you go. Look it up. Yeah, I mean, yeah. We're just not gonna we're gonna be behind when you're talking about the new hot thing.
He's up with Joe Burrow, and apparently he's a Heisman Trophy winner too. So all these things, I guess, people like Eugene, they know all about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Let's move on to the last game. Speaking of Eugene, he continues to roll in this league. The original projection was 117.98 to 118.51. Technically an upset, but yeah, Eugene ends up winning 128.38 to 115.22. It ends up being much closer than it looked like it might be going into the Monday, as Josh Allen ended up with 38.92 points.
Allen had a monster game.
Oh yeah.
And
And
40 points. Whew.
he had a comment, I think it was whatever, I saw it on X, where he said that it's nice to just it was basically a backhanded remark of, making a dig at Diggs, but it's nice to not have people that are demanding the ball, or it's just like, oh, it's nice to just be able to play with a team effort or kind of thing. So, yeah, I think, and that goes into the Shakir thing and whatever else. I think this is, I think he's happy in this situation. Yeah, they blew him up, but Lamar had a great game. So really, part of the, I mean, the thing. All right, well, let's go through the lineup. So DK Metcalf, I don't know like this is. Do you think he's going to sustain? I mean, this is very unsurprising. Excuse me, very surprising to have him.
Shit, when I had him.
Yeah,
Apparently, offensive coordinator now. They're just bombing it down the field.
I guess, yeah. So I mean, because he's had a great season so far. Nico Collins, I mean, as we talked about that Minnesota. What's that?
I said New England secondary was horrendous, and Miami, I mean, they're just trash. So I mean, that's his last two big games. I mean, he played Denver, who's like a big boy team. He got 5 points.
And that Denver defense is for real. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I watched. That's actually the game that I watched the most because I had three players in that game, and it was hard to watch with how good they were against Baker and like they are a good defense. I don't know if they necessarily are fantasy wise, but in the NFL, they're a good defense. So yeah. 12.6 for Collins. I mean, he, 86 yards, 4 receptions. Not a bad game considering how bad their game was. Mike Evans, though, speaking of the Denver defense, I mean, terrible, terrible game. But there was no opportunity. Baker just couldn't even get it off. I mean, there was just no opportunity to get the ball. But only 1.9 for Ridley. After his really good week last week. Who did he have? So 24.7 points last week. He's comes back not only down to earth, but down to the ground, 1.9. Etienne gets 12.5, 15.7. So a human-like number for Kamara, who has a Q by his name. So that's interesting. 8, but Tillett, his running backs, Rashad White with 8.5, 5.9 for Pollard, so struggling there. There was some, decent tight end play in this game. Kincaid with 13.1, 7.1 for Bowers, who we just mentioned, so definitely came back down to earth on that score. And then Eugene loves Nabers. It's completely in love with the man. 28.2 points. I could see why at this level. Yeah, and then 15.2 for more. But yeah, I think the combination of him being a Giant fan, and having him on his team, and this is the player that he really likes, and he's continues to be fantastic. And Aubrey, the kicker, I think I saw another stat somewhere that he has like more points than I don't know how many people, like how many like actual legit players in the league. I know one of them that they mentioned was Tyreek Hill. No offense to you, but there's like big name players that he has more points than. And continues to roll with 12.6, 1.3 for Sanders, and then only 2 for the Houston defense, and 16 for the Jets defense in that New England game. And they were pretty dominant last week. So good win for Eugene. But Tillett really did make much more of a game out of it than it looked like it could be originally. Yeah, and here's the other thing. So, as far as the bench, David Montgomery still on his team. I don't know how David Montgomery ends up on his team every year, but still has 21.2 points there. And then
he's been a monster.
He has been. Like, this is actually the year I'm like, now you should, like, this is where now that he's actually good, he's not even looking to trade him. It's hilarious to me. And then 26.2 for Johnson. I guess he picked up after the Thielen injury or something. I don't know. I didn't watch that game. For Tillett, I mean, so he had Aaron Rodgers, but I think who did he play quarterback? I mean, Allen. Yeah, Allen. I mean, Rodgers is almost wasting a spot at this point, and then there's not much else there on the defense. I mean, excuse me, on the bench. So, tough loss. Really, I mean, he had enough in there. Did he, like, if you had any combination of anything? Not really. I mean, 10.10 for Spears. I mean, you could have theoretically.
Here's my Eugene. That entire Jaguars offense is sputtering near the drain. Probably want to get Montgomery in there at some point. I mean, the guy is just steamrolling points wise.
Yeah.
Probably has a much higher ceiling and a much higher floor, at least, than ETN and that horrid Jaguars team.
I mean, 16, 17, and 21.
Versus 11, 14, and 12.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pair that up with Kamara. That's a solid backfield. And I mean,
although he's got this rib injury now, so he might even have to. So we'll see.
So, I mean, here's the thing. If Nabers has even a remotely pedestrian performance, this is a 3-point game.
Yeah.
So, it was just going to come down to earth. This is a far cry from 195 points. Eugene looked like a regular team. I mean, Kamara's not going to come up with 44 every single week to make you look like a god.
Sure, but here's the thing. But here's the thing I will say. This was a week where scoring was down across the board for everyone. And he still stayed up there in terms of points, so when everybody else was getting sub 100. I mean, there were, I think, half the league almost, if I'm not mistaken, was sub 100 this week. You had 1, 2, 3, 4. So, all right, excuse me, 4 of the 6 under 100.
Really boosted a lot of scores.
What?
That Monday night game really boosted a lot of scores.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like on Sunday, it looked like you were going to have a lot of sub 100. But okay, nonetheless, this was a much lower scoring week. But he continued to be pretty high in that. I mean, and the difference, in the haves versus have-nots. I mean, essentially 131 to 125 is that range of the teams that won, and then everybody else was other than Tillett, who whatever was hovering lower or around the 100. So I don't know.
That was pretty. I mean, Dr. Hockey. I mean, he's 3-0. I'm not going to take anything away from his wins, but every other team right? He would have lost to every other team
That one.
that won because they were all, like you said, 125 with the Hagglers was the lowest of the winners.
Correct. Other than
Otherwise, you would have needed 127, 28, 131. So those were society. I mean, Dr. Hockey should have. I mean, he played the right team
correct.
because he wouldn't have won the other matchup.
Hmm?
For the winners that won this week, he wouldn't. I mean, that 101 would have been a distant second. He's lucky he played Manny in the finest.
Yeah. But everybody that lost was essentially sub 100 except for Tillett. So Tillett has the opposite problem. Not that he was in the 125 range, but he was well, I guess Clever Name Pending actually had 118. I didn't even see him down there, but yeah, Clever Name Pending, who had not been for Daniels, he would have won too. So
yeah.
Never mind anything that I said. All I know is it was the band of winners was 131 to 125. That was a small band where everybody won. Nobody exceeded that, and so scoring was down this week. That was my only point. I don't know. The rest of it, I don't care or didn't pay attention to. All right. So that's the first half of the show. I think it's time that we take a break.
Leads us to the break.
Yes, we will be right back after this, and with all the transactions, standings, and preview of the upcoming week. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the show. It's time to now take a look at this week's free agent waiver wire picks. That's where we'll start. So we start out at Chuba Hubbard getting 26 or going for $26. Outbidding Gronky Kong at 21, Zamunda for 15. So it's nice to see at least Zamunda's trying there. And the Whalers at $3. Then you have Cole Kmet going to Gronky Kong for $15, outbidding the 1603ers for $12 and Zamunda at 10. And then the Tennessee defense going to the finest over Gronky Kong. As far as all transactions, those were the contested ones. If we can now take a look at all the transactions. Let's see, where do we start? So it would have been on the 25th. So there's DeAndre Hopkins went for $21 to the finest. That was uncontested. Very interesting. You were talking about him before the podcast to me. So what is it about him?
Nothing. He finally did something. He was literally non-existent.
Oh, okay.
Then he did anything, and he goes for $21.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why it was non-contested. But he spent $21 without whatever.
He could have got him for free.
Yeah, exactly. He could have gotten him free. He could have gotten him at the midnight hour. But yeah. Purdy goes for $3. Interesting. I guess after the 31 points, but I don't know.
It's funny. These are all ex-Hagler, the garbage can going for. Kmet was an ex-Hagler. Hopkins was an ex-Hagler.
The Tennessee defense, we discussed that. Miami, the defense, that goes for $1 to Gronky Kong. Nobody outbid, or nobody even attempted to bid there. And then we get into the non-dollar pickups. So we had the 1603ers pick up Gaiseki. What's that?
Ex-Hagler.
Is he?
Yeah.
The only reason why we picked him up, I mean, we don't even care, but we just in case McBride doesn't go, we needed to have a tight end this week. We also picked up Roshan Johnson. He's the new hyped up hot whatever in Chicago. That's what the lattes are saying. So $10 or 10 points he got last week. So we'll see if we can do anything. And then we moved on to the finest this 1 in the morning or 4 in the morning. So he picks up Cordell Patterson and dropped Goff, who I said was terrible. And anyway, then we have some kicker. Oh, wow. He dropped Moody. Look at that. That's so sad. but then he was picked up, I guess, by Tillett. Okay. Then it's time for you to wake up and start picking up some players. So you picked up Font. Decided that Indianapolis is your defense for this week.
Well,
Emmanuel.
if you click on Indianapolis, there's like greens everywhere. I mean, how many green teams?
I mean, you got Pittsburgh. This is a tougher week, but then Jacksonville, Tennessee, Miami. Ooh.
And then look at the end of the year. Those
Um,
pure garbage teams. I can't. 4 pure garbage teams to finish the season.
yeah. I mean, the only problem is that week 14 bye is kind of terrible, but
I mean, like them. I just saw so much green. I was just like, all right, whatever.
I mean, not a bad place to go. All right. So then you picked up Emmanuel Wilson.
This guy Wilson, I don't know. So Josh Jacobs is their starting running back, but this Wilson whenever they give him the ball, he just does shit.
Okay.
Mostert, I don't know what's going on. I'm so sick and tired of Mostert. And Mostert, I don't know what to do with this guy. He's always injured, nursing his injuries. This guy looks like he's got a great upside if they ever give him the ball.
All right. And then Los Civis or whatever you said. So I mean, how many teams has this guy been on? I mean, my God.
This sweepstakes winner.
Yeah, right now. Oh my God. This guy just keeps he's been passed around the league this year. And then you went into the kicker sweepstake picking up Reichert. Okay. I mean, he's got some good numbers there.
Sure. I was too. The Steelers offense is just putrid.
Oh, I've never I don't pick up Steelers kickers. I'm sorry. They although is what's his name still there? Who's their coach now? I should know. What?
Yeah, Tom is still their coach.
Yeah. Well then no, I'm not going after their kickers. That guy's an insane man. He loves to not kick a field goal and just do crazy. I know. I don't need that.
You know, I like Hockey's pickup of New Orleans. I was gonna go get him, but that just saw so much green in Indianapolis. I just decided, I mean, these guys have a decent amount of green too coming up, but I think
scattered green. But by the way, now it's the time of the year. Although I will say, I noticed on Yahoo they had like a backwards kind of green thing, and it was just I don't know if it was the app at the time, but I mean, like first of all, they had two teams that were at I mean, maybe they were tied in points or something, but they were both at 31. Like, I don't know how two teams can both be ranked 31, but I guess I don't know, whatever. So just double check that because the app is kind of wonky this year. But yes, now is the time. Now that we're 3 weeks into the season, now you kind of get a sense of what has been flukes and what is not. So as I always say, this is the time of the year where you really need to, this is where you can start paying attention because those numbers mean some things as opposed to after week 1 when everybody's hot on like Isaiah Likely, it could be a fluke and it is. Or even 2 weeks in a row maybe, but after 3 weeks you have some solid data that you could work off of and make some informed decisions. So all right. We can move on from that to the standings this week, which we're starting, as we move past week 3, we're starting to get into that, those kind of separations that we start to see. So we have the top 3-0 teams. It's Dave's Secret Crush, the 1603ers, and South Florida Primetime. Then you have that kind of second tier at 2-1, which is 4 through 6 at this point, which is Nick and Jamie, the Lightning Rods, and the Finest. Then you get into that 1-2 bracket, of which is another 3, including Tillett Trey, Gronky Kong, and Present Company. And then you get into that other quarter of teams at 0-3, but a nice division of 3, 3, 3, and 3. 0-3 is the Clever Name Pending, the Detroit Whalers, and the Zamunda Lions. So, yeah, right now you're sitting at the third quarter, and we are in the first. So, anything to mention about the standings, or I mean, I actually think. Look, so here's the thing. I think your win this last week was very important. And anybody who would have faced that because the difference between 0-3 and 1-2 is gigantic at this point. I mean, you're talking about having to wait until week 6 to be able to get back to 500 if you're 0-3, whereas 1-2, you could be at 500 by the end of this week. So those, these are the important kinds of things, but it's still very early, even for the teams at the bottom. I still think it's very early. Maybe not for Zamunda, but that's because, All right. So where shall we go for this week's games? We can get the Manny versus me game over with to discuss, since he's not here to discuss it.
Yeah, let's get the Manny versus Dave.
So he's projected to win this week, 117.72 to 111.76. It's very close. I mean, so the projection is a 55 to 45. I guess like that 6 points. I'm surprised that it has that wild a percentage swing, but I guess it does. You got CJ Stroud. Now he's going against Jacksonville. Jacksonville was horrid, so he might actually make those numbers. You got Baker going against Philadelphia, and that Philadelphia secondary is not that great. I'm a little bit concerned about this Godwin question mark, though. I think it'll be okay. And you got Marvin Harrison, who also has a question mark over there, going against Washington. I hope that his Q turns into an O, because any player going against Washington is trouble. Then you have Rice going against the Chargers, which I don't know how they are. And then Antonio Brown going against not Antonio Brown. What am I saying? Yeah, Antonio Brown going against AJ Brown. You know. And then so we've got Bijan and Brees Hall, New Orleans and Denver. I mean, that Denver team does concern me. We'll see. He's got the A chain against Tennessee. It was terrible. And I mean, he's got some really good matchups this week. Then again, Josh Jacobs is not that great. And that defense is not that great. Laporta has not been doing anything. We're in trouble with our tight end because of McBride's injury. Shakir has a good matchup against Baltimore, I think, and then he is playing Turd Ferguson this week. So I mean, and then Minnesota defense against the Tennessee defense. And Tennessee going against Miami, who is terrible. I don't know. I look at this and I am concerned because I do think that he has some very good matchups this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some good matchups, but also if that Harrison turns into a problem, he doesn't have anybody else to play except for his newest pickup, DeAndre Hopkins, who plays on Monday night. Because everybody else for him goes at 1:00. So if Harrison can't go, he's out a receiver. So he might want to he might want to put that into the flex instead of Ferguson going Thursday.
So true.
Never want to use your flex position on a Thursday night game.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially like Laporta doesn't play or whatever. Like I would just switch Laporta and Ferguson is what I would do there.
Yeah,
because if you're going to go with the jumbo package, which
you could do that.
What? No, but if he's going to go with the jumbo package, then you're kind of stuck having to use both of them. But yes, I would switch Ferguson with Laporta, put Laporta into the flex. But thing is, he's not on the podcast to get such advice, so do what you will.
Of course.
But yes.
I think Gesicki sucks. He doesn't. I mean, he's terrible. But you needed a tight end in a pinch. You basically plug and play with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah.
Baker. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he struggled last week, but that was against a real defense.
It was against a really good Denver defense. I mean, Philadelphia secondary has been not that great.
I mean, you saw when he played Washington, who sucks ass. He got 37 points.
Yeah.
So he'd be all right against Philly. I mean, you got the Bijan, Brees Hall plug-in. Shakir's been doing really well. I think that's you're going to be the upset of the week. I don't think Manny's going to be able to hold up.
I just think he's got. I mean, so what's going on with Harrison? What's his status? Quadricep.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I mean, the thing about Harrison is he's just doing all this ridiculous damage on like 4 catches, 5 catches.
Yeah, now he's going. I mean, but look at he's also played the Rams, Detroit. He's got Washington this week, and then San Francisco. I mean, like you want to talk about a sea of green right there, and then it starts to get pretty bad. So I am concerned, with him playing Washington because Washington's terrible. You play anybody that's playing the Commanders.
I mean, Laporta hasn't done shit.
No, he's been pretty terrible.
He's been horrible. Turd Ferguson has. I mean, he's barely done anything.
He had the game last week. I mean, but one of our advantages, which, and then he's playing a tougher team against the Giants, in terms against tight ends. But one of the problems that we have is that we just, McBride being a question mark in terms of the concussion protocol, we don't, that's one of our advantages that we have always had. So this is, I don't know if we could capitalize on Laporta being terrible.
Mm-mm.
All I'll say is that he has, what has Jacobs done? Has he done anything that makes me
No, he's really fallen off.
against Minnesota? So, but I think CJ Stroud will, could have a good game. Although that line is really terrible. Look, I do think that he has the matchup advantages this week, and that could be enough, especially given the weakness of tight end. That's, so I always pick my opponent, and I'm going to this week.
Yeah, I mean, Brees Hall against Denver, that's brutal.
Yeah.
And your strengths are the running backs. I mean, Robinson against the Saints, he could be okay. I mean, yeah, that could be brutal. I'm still going to pick you because Manny, I just think his team just is not
Because
good.
he angered the fantasy gods this week by doing tennis instead of bus.
Yep.
These are important things.
Mhm.
All right. So moving on to the next game, where shall we go?
Let's go to the Dr. Hockey game versus Gronky Kong.
All right. So the projection in this one is 113.76 to 108.69 in favor of Dr. Hockey. So he's rolling with Sam Darnold in this game, trying to run with the hot hand. Mahomes has been, he's been pedestrian. It's fine. Whereas Darnold has been on fire. 18, 23, and 31. Look at that. You've got Mumra, who finally came back last week, going against Williams, who did not do anything last week. McLaurin, I think that's a little bit of fool's gold. And then Jamar Chase, who might also be some fool's gold with a Q. Going against Carolina, maybe. Then what else do we have? Singletary versus Cook. Cook has been good. Walker against Hubbard. Hubbard is, now that the Red Rocket is back. I mean, look, I had him week 1. They were terrible. That whole team is terrible. But now that he's back, Hubbard could maybe do something. If not, I mean, there's some other guy that Whalers actually has on his bench, if he still has him. That's supposed to come on in 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know, but I think right now Hubbard would be the number 1 guy there. Komet, who had a good game last week, which is why I bet on him and everybody else did, and he's got a string of good games coming up. So Komet could be, important there going against Kittle, I mean, like, why is he doing so terribly when McCaffrey, I guess because Juwan Jennings is taking, or I guess he has a hamstring.
Big bad goose egg for a kid. That's the kind of numbers he put up when I had him.
I know. It's not just you. And then O'Dunsey, he's not, is he O'Dunsey? He's not. He's pretty good. And going against the Rams this week. That's a good play right there for Hockey. Smith, he was injured, right? He's in the concussion protocol, but if he clears it, we'll have the typical good game that he could, he usually has. You got Butker against Fairbairn. We'll see which Fairbairn appears, if it's the guy who scored more than most, or the guy who got a goose egg last week. And then, like you said, the New Orleans defense, and then going against the Miami defense on the other side. I think Hockey. I would pick Hockey in this game.
I would also. I think Hockey can handle this. I mean, I mean, Gronky Kong, it's just the performance from Williams is disturbing in Detroit because that whole offense, Jared Goff has been underperforming all season.
I know. I dropped him right. I mean, he was just not. No.
Gino runs a pretty good show there in Seattle, but I mean, Walker, and they saw how good Chardonnay was. They might not be in a rush to get Walker back in the lineup.
Yeah.
And another ex-Hagler Cole coming. I mean, we can't keep everybody. Somebody's going to do something from the Hagler's team. Smith is in the concussion protocol. I mean, Gronk may not even have all these players.
Sure. I mean, who does he have on the bench? He's got Andrews. He's got Higgins. I mean, Higgins going against Chase.
I mean, it's such a steal. Why is Steele still on the bench? You'd rather go with an injured Walker
Whatever.
over your $5 stud?
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
I don't know. I would like. I see how Worthy's cooled off in Kansas City. I mean, a lot of these, like you said, it takes about 3 weeks before you really can fish out who's who on what team.
Yeah, and we're finally at the period. We've crossed the not the Rubicon, but like a smaller river. We've crossed the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picking hockey.
I'm taking hockey in this one too because he's my rival. Like I can't stand Rocky Kong. He's got it. I got to take hockey. What are you talking about?
Sure. All right. Where shall we go next?
Let's go to Nick and Jamie versus Tilla Trey.
Okay, so in this game, Nick and Jamie is favored 115.76 to 112.06. 53 to 47% favorite. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So you got Josh Allen going against Baltimore. I think he's going to have a monster game there, but I mean, who could predict anything with this Daniels guy? I mean, if, against Arizona, I laughed at it last week. I don't know.
I'm not laughing anymore. This guy's for real.
Yeah, I think Nico will do fine in Jacksonville. Reed, God, I mean,
he had a great game when the field was really slippery and everybody was falling down, but since then he's fell down.
Yeah, that's true. And he's got a calf injury. Then Pickens. I mean, these the names of the he's going against Indianapolis though, so there's potential there for a good game. Mike Evans. I mean, he's I mean, they're all questionable. Why is everybody? I have a bunch of Buccaneers, and I got questionables on everyone. I think they're just maybe they're scared of lawsuits after McCaffrey did everything. I don't know. I think it could be exploited there, but he's had a disappointing season so far, but we'll see. I don't know. Got Saquon, who really has been good going, and White, who's been trailing off. I have to say, it looks like my little investment in Bucky, whatever his name is, Bucky Irving, is starting to pay off as he might take over the role there. Knock on wood. And then Gibbs, I mean, there's like an advantage. So Gibbs has been, he's been pretty good there. Pollard is not. I mean,
that whole Tennessee offense is just putrid.
Kelsey is just, I mean, this is just sad. It's just sad. What was that? Did it really have? I thought it had a Taylor Swift ad. Ridiculous. And then Kincaid going against Buffalo. I mean, going against Baltimore.
Nick and Jamie love themselves some Keenan Allen. I really don't. I mean, he literally has done nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's questionable again.
He's questionable doing nothing.
This time he has a heel. Yeah, he's done 6.9. What's going on there?
Literally questionable getting 0. Surely there's somebody that they could slot into the flex that has more upside, but maybe not. Looking at this lineup,
Zeke, but you can't put him in the man, and you can't put him in the flex right now because the Thursday night game. They picked up Pitts, didn't they? Did he do anything?
No. He's been the Pitts. He's the same old Pitts.
He always is. I don't know. Man, this is a fairly evenly matched game, I have to say, because there's like weaknesses all over the place, but then there's also strengths. I mean, look, there's some there's definitely Nick and Jamie are stronger at running back. I'm concerned about Mike Evans getting points. Pickens and Reed don't. Allen looks good, but Pickens and Reed don't look great. But Collins will get some points. Kincaid over Kelsey. Well, yeah, and then DJ Moore over. Man, I don't know where to go on this. This one, I think this really all comes down to the quarterback performance. Can Daniels come up with another performance like that? Because I think Allen is gonna have a good one. And Barkov. Man, this is a really tough one for me to pick.
I think Nick and Jamie's running backs carry them to victory.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning, but I think Mike Evans might get one. So, yeah. 1 second. We're gonna have to here. 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I could get 2 firsts from Allen to Kincaid, but I don't know. Not really much going on the bench either. I mean, Mixon, how long is he going to be out? He's got week to week with an ankle injury. Yeah, I think Nick and Jamie's running backs basically are going to give them the edge here. Although you can never rule against Josh Allen. I mean, 38 points, that's a monster performance. 35 in week 1. At Baltimore. All right, we got some filler space here while Dave Harbacken takes a shit. I don't know if he paused it or flying solo here, but yeah. That's what I see. Yep. Obviously, I let Dave Harbacken do most of the talking. I just go, yep, and yep. So, yep. That's what it looks like. Hopefully Dave gets back soon from taking a dump. Yeah. Obviously, the team that gives 110% is probably going to have a better chance to win. Both teams should just take it one play at a time, one game at a time. Early bird gets the worm. You just got to play hard. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Backett should be back any minute now, He's just stepped out for a second. Yeah. Yeah. Should be a pretty good matchup. But both teams are just, they play hard nosed defense. And keep their head on straight. Like I said, take it one play at a time. Any day now, Harbacken, he's just gonna be back in a minute, I'm sure. Both of these teams are, hungry for a win. Should be a good game. Yeah, we may have to edit this whole section, dub it over, or just cut it out completely. Let's just look at the bench. Bench looks like yeah, not much going on there. A lot of cues.
You ready? Sorry.
Oh, you're back. Oh, all right. Was it live or did you pause it?
I paused it.
Oh, okay. That's funny because I just kept rambling on and on and on, waiting for you to get back.
Okay.
It's like both need to give 110%. Both teams should take it one play at a time.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was distracted by something. Anyway, so yeah, I guess we're going with I'm gonna go with Nick and Jamie, but barely. I mean, it could easily go the other way.
That's what I'm saying. With the running backs, they give them a slight edge.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at. All right, moving on to the next game, which will be
Battle for the basement.
ooh, where is that? Oh, it's at the bottom. Look at that. All right. So
Very close. This is a real dogfight for the basement.
I mean, ironically, the Zamunda Lions are projected as favorites 109.77 to Clever Name Pending at 108.28. They are 51 to 49% favorite. Let's delve deeper into the numbers right here. So we have Kyler Murray at versus Washington. That bodes well for Zamunda. Hurts going against Tampa Bay. Ayuk versus New England, Lamb against the Giants. He's playing Jawan Jennings against New England. So the battle of the San Francisco wide receivers there. And then you got Dell versus Jacksonville. If we look at the running back situation, Kyron Williams, who actually was one of the few people who performed last week at Chicago, and J.K. Dobbins, excuse me, versus Kansas City. And then we have Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. So Clever Name. I mean, look, I actually think the running back matchups here are good. Henry versus Freiermuth. I mean, Freiermuth should outplay him, but not by much. Who knows? McConkey versus Dobbs. Oh my God! And he was good. Oh man. And then Vegas and oh man, and the Buffalo defense. I so I look, I think both of Clever Name Pending's running backs are good, whereas I think Dobbins he is good, but he like he had a dud last week because he played like a more difficult team, and now he's playing Kansas City again. And I think that could be the kind of thing that would make the difference in a game like this. I mean, you do have Murray against Washington. That's certainly going to help him there. Has Dell done anything? What has Dell done for you? And he's going against Jacksonville. I'm going to go with Clever Name Pending slightly.
Okay, interesting.
I think like the last game, I think it has to do with the running backs.
Yeah, running backs. I mean, definitely going to play a major. I mean, both. I mean, as you get below the running backs, both teams are really not even mentionable.
I mean, look, Ayuk versus Jennings is definitely an advantage. I think for someone, so 9 point. I mean, and then obviously we know what.
Put this 6.5 performance. I mean,
but I mean that could be once again that could be a total fluke. And in fact, and teams might go ahead and cover him this week. Yeah, man, it's tough.
they probably like, who's this guy again? I mean, CD Lamb has underperformed because Dak has underperformed because the Cowboys have underperformed because they suck. He was actually one of the people I targeted in the draft, but I mean, Tyreek Hill's not doing much better. I mean, everybody looks good against Washington. So that could be, Murray could blow up and have a really big game.
Exactly.
Hunter Henry, this tight end situation over here with Hunter Henry. I mean, the Patriots right now are putrid to begin with. I just don't think you got to find another tight end. It's Hunter Henry.
And he's limited.
He's abysmal.
And Freiermuth, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He'll beat him like by 2 points, and it won't,
Freiermuth has
flex position doesn't look good for either of these teams.
I don't know. This is just I mean, Nick's a very. I mean, maybe Jennings will make the difference and put up another 46 points.
Look, if Jennings puts up 46 points, then yes, that would make the difference in this game.
Otherwise, I have to go with clever name pending by a little bit. I mean, his team's not exactly burning it up either.
No.
That 108 to 109. This could be much lower than that.
Yeah, it could be 08 to 09.
Well, yeah, the first one to get to 80 points, I think, wins this one.
All right. Is that it for our games other than the last one?
No, we still have yeah. I think that might be it.
I think did we do you versus lightning rods?
I don't even remember.
Let's see. Once again, somebody has to pay attention to our own podcast. No, we did not do this game. We did not do your game. Interesting. So you are the underdog in this game, 116.34 to 100.29. Wow, that's quite a spread there. 64 to 36. What?
You were like 97. I don't know why Yahoo just says my players are such trash. I guess they are.
Well, you got Prescott against the Giants. I mean, Burrow against Carolina. That's definitely that's a good matchup there. Jefferson against Green Bay. So you got Adams versus Cleveland, where Nabers just looked amazing last week, and then Diggs versus Jacksonville. So you got some good matchups in the wide receiver position. He's got Drake London, versus New Orleans. As we were starting to say, Drake London is starting to become better.
So Alexander is going to be all over Justin Jefferson. So it's finally a matchup. But then again, yeah, finally a matchup where somebody has to cover this guy at some point. It's literally wide open on every play. And I'm talking about bombing it down the field wide open, not just like a little dump off. It is mind-boggling how open Justin Jefferson is. I mean, who is running the defenses on these teams? There's literally nobody to throw to. I mean, he's open. I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, it's literally he scored a touchdown in every single game. I mean, 4 catches in 2 of the games, and he's still. I mean, this is absurd. Somebody finally has to cover this guy. Maybe Jair Alexander will be the man. Somebody has to shut this guy down. It'll be the perfect week for Lightning Rods to get his star receiver shut down. I wouldn't over it.
Who are your running backs? I've never. What's it? All right, Zach Moss, and he's going against Carolina. Okay, so that looks good. And yeah, we talked about him. Emmanuel, this is the guy that you were just talking about, right? Okay.
Mostert plays on Monday night, so if he can't go, I'm completely fooped.
Yeah, and Mostert has he been even? What's going on with that situation?
No, he literally has been hurt the whole season.
Okay.
He's been worse than Keenan Allen.
Is he at McCaffrey level yet? All right, and he's got Bijan and Aaron Jones.
But I don't have my IR is already jammed with losers anyway. DJ Chark, I mean, he's coming back for the Chargers. Does it even matter?
DJ Chark? I haven't heard that name in like whatever. Like really? That's you're holding up an IR spot for DJ Chark.
The problem is I can't get rid of him. Or can you just drop right from IR?
I think you can drop right from IR.
I think we're gonna have to. I think don't be surprised if Mostert's out again, nursing his injuries for 4 straight weeks.
Yeah, I mean, so Ertz is I think better than likely at this point. I don't know. You got Tyreek against Wilson, which sadly I think that Wilson wins that matchup. He's going against Denver, which is going to be difficult. What?
You have to realize Zach Ertz has a revenge game against Carolina. Not Carolina.
You mean against Arizona?
Yeah, he's coming home at Arizona. I think the only reason he's in there is because of the revenge factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tend to overlook these revenge games. I never see it coming. But this one, I'm going to throw him in there. It's against his ex-team. I think they force him the ball.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sorry, but I gotta go with lightning rods in this. I mean, there's just this dumpster fire that you put out there just does not look great. I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm not saying that you can't get an
It's
upset.
dumpster fire I put out every week. I mean, they scored 125 last week because of Dak.
If Dak has a similar kind of game, I mean, look, I think Tyreek Hill, look, you've got the strongest on paper wide receiver set in the league, but the problem is they're not performing. Your running backs are suspect. I think that he's got enough there. I mean, likely is um he's gonna hurt with likely. You probably can
Obviously, likely is cooled off. I mean, Wilson has a very tough matchup against Denver.
Yeah, I mean,
You can pretty much phase him out, and then you can pretty much hopefully phase out Justin Jefferson against Jair.
good luck with that. Look, I look at this and I think the opposite of the mine and my Manny game, which is or the same. It's just, I think that he has the Lightning Rods has the advantage here. In terms of, I mean, excuse me, you have the advantage, right? Is that what I'm saying? Somebody has the advantage in terms of matchups. This is the analysis that everybody pays for on a week to week. No, okay, so Burrow against Carolina, that's good. Um, oh no, you do because you got Zach Moss going against Carolina. Jacksonville for Diggs. Um, Ertz in the revenge game. I think his roster is better, but yeah, I think there's, yeah, you make the case that there's definitely some tougher matchups on his side. So yeah, I think he has a personnel advantage, but you might have a matchup advantage.
That's what I'm going with. I think Cleveland gave it up to Nabers. They should give it up to Adams.
Yeah.
Diggs has a smooth matchup. Moss has a smooth matchup. Wilson, I mean, Ertz against is a revenge game. The only problem is Tyreek Hill. I mean, who is going to? They're going to run the Wildcat. It's just something to get him the ball. I mean, it's just a horrid quarterback situation right now in Miami. It's just a shame.
I mean, and you look at the Justin Jefferson situation where it doesn't matter how many people they throw, but then you could get the same kind of thing because Hill is fast enough to be able to do something like that, and I mean, to not be able to get it to him,
shame. Yeah. I mean, literally, just throw him a 1 yard screen pass and he can take it to the house.
Exactly. Like, how could you not?
I mean, he still gets almost double. I mean, he gets 7 with just putrid puke buckets of quarterback. And even the second string guy who sucks ass is knocked out. So they're down to the third string loser.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just have A-Chain throw him the ball.
Or Mostert.
Anybody, just please, they have to figure it out. They have to figure something out. I mean, it's just a shame what they're doing. I should never listen to you and Manny. I should have just gotten rid of this loser.
He was not a loser when we were talking about it.
I mean, it was week 1. He had 26 points. He was a hot commodity. I could have gotten carte blanche, anything I wanted for him. And I listened to you two boneheads.
Yeah, because I mean, Tua was still playing. It made sense.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think he's coming back. He's on IR for 4 weeks. I mean, it's just they just pick somebody out of the stands to be quarterback at this point.
I mean, you could get an Andy Dalton, or somebody like I mean, there's is Flacco playing? Isn't he on? Who's he on now?
I don't. What for the team in real life?
Yeah, I'm saying
nobody available in real life.
Hmm.
Just want to bring Tom Brady back out of the booth.
Exactly.
All right, just for I mean, I'm still picking myself because of the rivalry, but we're going to score more than 100 points, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Projection has you right about there, but they're rarely right. All right, let's move on to the last game of the week, the fans game.
Ooh, against the Whalers. Ooh.
I know this is. I mean, you want to talk about all-time center rivalries? This is it. And ooh, you know that Eugene has got to be relishing the idea that he could put his biggest rival at 0-4 and he move himself to 4-0. And yet you got to know that Whalers has got to want to be the one to take, knock him down a peg.
There's
So
the Whalers' comeback trail. If he knocks off the champ, or not the champ, but the first place
he is
team,
the champ. Yeah, I know. If he knocks off Eugene, this is really where he could start.
the comeback, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a big game, and So, all right. So he picks up Purdy going against New England. You got Lamar going against Buffalo. Um, so it's a tough defense there. And then you got Purdy against New England. How was New England done? Middle of the pack. Interesting. All right. You got Metcalf and Nabers. So Metcalf at Detroit and Nabers versus Dallas. And then you got Flowers and Olave. Oof, tough match for Flowers. Olave. I mean, look, he got his points because of a touchdown last week. So I don't know. Mason and Connor. I mean, like he had two great games. Then I guess Detroit is one of the best defenses there. So now he's going against Washington. So expect those numbers to go up a little bit. Etienne and Kamara. I mean, but I guess is this what he's going? And so I don't know. And then Bowers and Goddard.com. Do you think that he continues on the, I mean, he played. No, I think Tampa Bay's tougher. I don't. Johnson against Kirk. Johnson. Deontay Johnson. I mean, that's actually not a bad play, given that, now that Dalton's in there, he's playing much better. And by the way, you want to talk about revenge games? Andy Dalton is going to Cincinnati this week, which is certainly a revenge game. So I think people on Carolina might actually do well this week. I'm surprised that Andy Dalton wasn't picked up out of the garbage can, given that fact. In fact, I'm surprised that you're not picking him up right now as we speak. Kirk at Houston. What has Kirk done so far?
He finally woke up out of putridness.
Yeah, now he's going against Houston. I mean, all right, and then we got the Houston defense against Cleveland defense. I mean, I'm sorry. I think Eugene still has the advantages here. I mean, if you want to look at opportunities for Whalers to capitalize, I mean, Connor could do well against Washington. But I just, Zay Fly, I mean, the receiving core on Washington, or I mean, on the Whalers is just not there. I mean, they can be if Olave shows up, but
Still not shoving in Montgomery into the lineup for you.
that's really interesting. I wonder if he's holding off to find out what's going on with Kamara. Because, all right, so those are 10 o'clock games. What time is the Monday at 5:15? So, I mean, he'll know. I mean, that's the, yeah, I would sub him in somewhere.
You think this is the week that Nabers comes back down to earth, or is Dallas that bad?
I don't know.
I don't know if they're bad against the pass.
Yeah, I don't know. And also, it's a Thursday night game, and I mean, it is an actual NFL rivalry. I don't know. I don't know how that game's going to turn out. I think it'll say a lot, as to whether or not there's an opening. I mean, but I look at this and I think that Olave Flowers combo is really what's hurting Whalers in this lineup more than anything else. I mean, in Kirk, I mean, he's, whatever. I mean, I mean, obviously on paper, I think Eugene has the advantage. I mean, so the projection, I don't think I went over it, is 120.87 to 114.54, 55% favorite. I got to go with Eugene. I mean, I'm not saying that Wells can't pull this out, but I just if his wide receivers can perform, I could say okay. But I think clearly it seems like Eugene. I got to pick him.
Yeah, I mean,
Plus, I can't even imagine how long the essay would be if I didn't pick him against Whalers and he beats. I mean, I'm not even broaching that subject. So
if Eugene wins, he's going to send Whalers near Hagler's territory at 0-4. Perennially, the Hagglers don't start performing until 0-5. The Whalers does have some buffer left, but this is it too early to say must win for the Whalers at 0-3? It's probably a little too early, but definitely this is one he would love to relish. Like this could bring some life back into the Whalers organization.
yeah, or it could be soul crushing. It could be Dave's secret crushing. Dave's secret soul crushing.
Dave's not so secret soul crushing. And of course, this will put Eugene's ego into the stratosphere.
I've been surprised at how non-vocal he has been this year.
He's been a good neighbors.
He has been.
He's been a very polite, good neighbors.
Yeah, like a good neighbors. Eugene is there.
Very neighborly about his performance.
Yeah, I'm surprised. No trash talk. I mean,
oh yeah, he would be doing what you're doing, throwing ass hats around.
I mean, didn't even said. I mean, like he was giving him some you know, like there was an opportunity to rub it into to the Whalers, and he said, yeah, that's a bad beat or something about like McCaffrey or whatever. You know, he's just like, yeah, that's a shame. I mean, they should have. They really should. I mean, who is it? Is Eugene actually like where is he? Where is the
It's
Eugene?
line up for Eugene. They could if these players are who we think they are, he could have another 195.
I don't think this week. I don't think so.
Deontay
But I do.
blow it up with the Red Rocket over there. Bowers has been consistent. Kamara could bounce back and have a really big game. ETN puts up his normal numbers. If Nabers and Metcalf do their thing and Jackson has a big, he could really do some damage.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he's already. I mean, like if you look at the. I mean, we could go back to the points for. I mean, his points for are well above. So right now he's got 456. The next closest is 380. I mean, that's like 70 points right there.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't spent a dime of free agency money.
He's like above. He's above the waiver limit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
He made one move, so literally his team is plug and play.
I mean, yeah, you look at some of the other teams, like, my God, the finest 20, 25 for Gronky Kong, 28 for the Habs. My God, between
the most moves.
Are you all breaking into the drugstore and like giving yourself some Adderall for all? Like, my God, how many moves? I mean, the next closest is me with 15, and then everybody else is in single digits. Well, there's only 7 moves. Yeah, I don't. This is a strange season for this league and for the players that we know. Like, people are not acting like they normally do. I haven't heard a peep out of Clever Name Pending. Normally, he's a chatty Cathy. You know, so interesting. What is it? What's going on in the league this year?
Eugene is the Dr. Hockey from last year. Really fast start out of the thing, and his hockey fizzled out in the second half. We'll see what happens with Eugene's players. The one thing I do know, you have to have some level of depth on the roster.
He has a ton.
It looks like he has it at the running back position.
He's got a ton of depth.
I mean, Zakir White, Williams, Waddle's in the same problem as Hill.
But I mean, hockey, what did he finish? So last season, how many points did he finish with? I mean, he didn't even finish at the top. So let's see. Points for. How did he? He did 18. He finished with the most points. All right. Stand corrected.
I mean, as so far as depth goes, Eugene yanked Ridley out after his pizzle performance. Like I said, Waddle's got this.
But like you look at the move to put in the Carolina wide receiver. I think he's making very smart moves all around. I think he's. I mean, That's what I'm saying. This is just he's not impulsive. He's not even doing trade. He's just playing well. He's playing really disciplined, good fantasy football this year.
There's one weakness for Eugene going down the stretch. He has no depth.
I think he has depth. I think he's had depth on his entire roster.
But the rest, these 5 individuals on the bench is not depth.
Why not?
I mean, look at Ramondre Stevenson's last game.
I still think that was a good pickup, but let's see. His last game. So you're just gonna go by his last game? I mean, he had one terrible game against the Jets, where that team was atrocious the entire day. Before that, he had 21 and 17.
I mean, Zakir,
and he's got a cake schedule. Look at this end of the season. He's got a cake schedule. I think that's some depth there, especially when you would need him there.
That part.
Hmm?
That's a lot of green. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, you got Waddle right here, who, maybe Tua will be back. Maybe they find a quarterback off the street by that point. And there's, that's I see no red. I see no red at the end. And then Montgomery, my God, I mean, how many people have running backs? I mean, that's a lot of green. That's a lot of green.
Montgomery should be a starter on any other team. He hasn't.
So you want to talk? I mean, this guy has depth. He has depth this year. He has depth. He's been quiet. He is the most concerning team in this league, as far as I could see.
He's the hockey from last year, so we'll see how he goes down the stretch.
I mean, we'll see. All right. Well, we could have. When I asked you for your hot take, to come up with a hot take of the week, I think that is definitely your hot take of the week. That Eugene is the Dr. Hockey of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's Dr. Hockey of this year. If I'm going to come up with a hot take for this season, for this week, I think my hot take is that Zamunda's not going to win a game. I don't think that I don't see them. I think that their lineup is so bad and they don't even have anybody to trade away. I don't think they're going to win a game.
That's a bold prediction.
I think yours is a bold hot take as well. All right. And as far as upset of the week, who do you got?
I mean, our point projection is always way too low, so my upset is me over my rival Lightning Rods.
Yes, I think. Well, I'm going with in line with my hot take. I think Clever Name Pending over Zamunda is my upset of the week, and your lock of the week out of these games.
And lock of the week. I mean, man.
I'm actually this could almost be my hot take. I'm going Dave's Secret Crush over the Detroit Whalers
as the lock of the week, huh?
I think so. I mean, I think I'm looking at it.
Wow.
It's gonna be insulting. It's gonna be, it's gonna drive the headlines.
Wow, that is gonna drive a lot of headlines. I
mean, no offense by it. I'm just looking at the numbers. That's my lock of the week.
Can the lock of the week be the upset of the week? I think Clever Name Pending beats Zamunda.
Wow, interesting. All right, we gotta, we'll have to come back to this game to see who was right. One of us will be completely wrong, and I will actually. I could be wrong on 2 counts if you get this one right. So, All right. Well, anything else to go over before we bid everyone adieu?
No.
All right. Well, hopefully the commissioner will be back next week on the program. Until then, I hope he loses this week. And I wish everyone else good luck. And we will see you next week.
Yep. Good luck, people.
Bye.